Hi everybody, happy Sunday. I hope that wherever you are and whatever you are doing, you are having an amazing weekend. I hope I'm feeling better than I am right now at the weekend. I'm recording this on Wednesday and it's about the only thing I've done all day. If you haven't watched the chicken and garden update, you probably don't know, but I've had a really bad ear infection for most of the week and I'm deaf in this side. This ear completely is deaf and I've got quite significant hearing loss on this side, so I'm struggling, both just dealing with the feeling of not being able to hear, but also balance issues, and I've just been feeling really nauseous. And the medication that they've been giving me, because of my heart condition that I have, I can't take most medications that you would take to deal with an infection like this. So I'm on some pretty nasty stuff and it's doing a number on me. But anyway, you don't want to know that. We want to talk about the Sunday musing. And I guess I hadn't planned on doing a Sunday musing, but I feel like there is only one thing I can talk about today, and that is how far a company or a person associated with a company, whether that is a CEO or some other high up executive or a spokesperson, how far they can go before you turn around and go, no, I'm sorry, I'm not having anything to do with your product anymore. I'm not having anything to do with your company anymore. I do not think that supporting you or your company is a good thing because of X, Y, or Z that particular person or that particular company did. Calling to mind some stuff that's been happening recently, obviously, Elon Musk and some of the things he said in a recent media interview this week. If you haven't found out about that, Elon Musk gave a media interview with a pretty big news organization, and he said some stuff in that interview that effectively doubled down on things he's been saying on Twitter that don't necessarily portray him in a particularly glowing light. And I am trying to choose my words carefully here. It's definitely not the only person who's given an interview this year in which things have been said that make you go, I hoped that this person felt differently or thought differently about this particular topic. In the case of Elon, he doubled down on his attacks on George Soros, attacks that a lot of people, including myself, feel is anti-Semitic. He also doubled down on there's no evidence that a recent gunman in a mass shooting that happened recently in Texas was a white supremacist, when people investigating it have basically said as much. They believe it was an attack that had elements of white supremacy behind it. And Elon Musk is maintaining, well, we don't know for sure. And he also made some attacks on people or companies that allow you to work from home. Said it was unfair because other people can't work from home, and he felt it wasn't a good thing that people work from home. My personal view on that is that working from home is great and it can actually help reduce your carbon footprint if it's done properly. But again, I don't necessarily want to inject too much of my personal views in this. I think if you're watching this, you probably know that I've disagreed with some of the things that Elon Musk has said in the last couple of years, particularly when it comes to the LGBT community and some of his attacks on trans people, some of the things he's been saying on Twitter. I'm not going to go any further into that, but definitely Elon is not the only person who has said stuff that has potentially negative connotations for an entire company. Obviously, Tesla's share price has gone up since Elon Musk announced that there is a new CEO for Twitter. That means he'll be able to go back to focusing more on Tesla and SpaceX and all of the other companies he's associated with. But I know, just from talking to you, from talking to people in the industry, from talking to, quite powerful investors, that many of you are uncomfortable with some of the things that Elon Musk has been publicly saying of late. And I would love to know at what point where is that line in the sand? What point do you go, okay, this company run by this person is doing amazing things, but I don't want to be associated with this company, or I don't want to invest in this company anymore because of this thing. And I'd love to know what the thing is that makes you go, no, I'm not going over that line. I know personally from running Transport Evolved, there have been times in the past when I've said things on screen or on social media that have upset some of you. And some of you have said, you know, you're drawing a line in the sand and said, I'm not going over this line because, in my case, it was because I, in some cases it was me mentioning I have a wife, or me mentioning that I'm trans and I want to support trans rights. Some of you feel that that's not an appropriate thing to bring into the world. And I've explained in the past why I believe that is not the case. So, free speech and all that. And Elon Musk had basically said in this interview this week, I do not mind if I lose money or my companies lose money because I am exercising free speech. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically the gist. And I know some people might disagree. The difference, of course, is that here at Transport Evolved, it's me and 3 other people at the company. And if I say something that negatively impacts the company, that's 3 people who are impacted. Whereas if you're the CEO of a major global company and you say something that could negatively impact not only the people who work for you, but also the investors, that's a very different thing. It feels like the sphere of influence is much bigger. But I'd love to know, maybe I'm talking out of my bottom and maybe you think that I just need to shut up. I'm going to bring a couple of other kind of points in that might aid in the discussion. So this is not necessarily EV centric today. This is more of an ethics and I suppose ethical consumerism thing, or ethical investment topic. So the Raspberry Pi Foundation got into a lot of hot water when it announced that it had a new member of its team that had come on board, a former police officer in the UK who had built surveillance equipment using Raspberry Pis. And the way that announcement was handled, not necessarily the actual announcement by the Raspberry Pi Foundation, but rather the way in which the Raspberry Pi Foundation's social media team interacted with people online expressing concern about that hiring, caused a major headache for the Raspberry Pi Foundation. And lots of people have said, you know what, maybe I'm not supporting this company anymore because they don't align with my core values. Open source community, Matrix, as an open source secure end-to-end chat platform, they got into trouble recently. Same kind of thing. The organization that was working on developing that, responsible for that. I can't remember if it was an actual company that developed Matrix or whether it was an associated company. You'll have to forgive me for being a bit vague there. They accept donations from law enforcement because law enforcement uses that chat program quite a lot. And again, that caused all kinds of issues in the online and open source communities. So it's not just car makers, it's not just Tesla and Elon Musk, it's other companies doing the same thing. But if you look back, you'll also, I think, fairly note that a lot of people have said of Elon Musk's interview this week, if it had been any other person from any other company saying some of the things that Elon Musk said in his interview, there would be an outcry and people would be baying for blood, demanding that said executive resigns, or people would be asking for folks to divest themselves from that company's shares. So it's a very interesting kind of dynamic. You know, it's the reality distortion field that Elon Musk has, that Steve Jobs had, that same kind of, paraphrase it, that the idea that that person can get away with stuff that other people wouldn't because of who they are or what they say. And so I'd love your thoughts on that as well in the comments. I'm not trying to attack Elon. I'm not trying to attack Tesla. I am genuinely trying to find out where your line in the sand is. At what point does something that somebody said become a no, I'm not coming back, I'm not supporting this person or this company, or I'm not having shares in the company that this person runs because of this. And, you know, as a closeout, I think it's very important to note that, you know, celebrities often find themselves in this situation. Kanye West, also known as Ye, lost sponsorship from big companies because of his recent travels into anti-Semitism and some of the things that he's said that are blatantly anti-Semitic and very, very troubling for anyone to be saying, especially a celebrity like that. And he has, I think, personally, quite rightly, been dropped from many sponsorship deals and appearances because of the views he's expressed. And also, obviously, I know that some people are like, well, you can't cancel people, that's cancelling. But at the end of the day, you know, if you live in a society in which we all try and be kind to one another and good to one another, and businesses can be supported because of their associations with a person, it makes sense that if that person says something that is unacceptable socially to the majority, then that person needs to part companies with said organisation, said company, or whatever. Anyway, I'd love to know your thoughts on all of the above in the comments below. How do you square that round hole? How do you make it okay to support a company when the person at the head of that company has said some, what I personally think is truly abhorrent things? And at what point do you say, no, we're not going any further? What are you okay with? What things being said are you okay with? And what things are you not okay with? Anyway, I know I rambled a bit. Like I say, I'm struggling a little because of my ear. I've also had to record this 3 times because for some reason there's a problem with that GoPro. It's being very silly. Anyway, on that note, we are done with today's video. If you do have comments, please be polite and civil and talk to one another in the chat. Don't swear or shout at each other. We can be better than that. Drop us a polite note. You can also do that by sending a message in the Discord chat room, or you can reach out to us on Mastodon, or if you are in the Patreon supporter group, you can also reach out there. If you want more, subscribe, hit the bell, and follow the links below to regularly support us with a YouTube membership or a Patreon subscription. You'll also find links to our Ko-fi, Bitcoin, and Swag store, as well as that aforementioned Mastodon server. Scrolling on my right is the list of amazing charged up supporters, and shout outs go out to our V2G Patreon supporters. They are Pedro Mora Pinheiro, Alan Tupper, Andrew Martin, Bennett Elder, Brophy Wolf, Chris Maxwell, Cyprian Laplace, Dan Blair, Gordon C, Hey Esker, John Trammell, Kyle Fox, Mark Eggleton, Peter Dillinger, Regine Fellows, Sean Tucker, Stephen Fremden, Stephen Williams, Tazlet and the Gong, Paul Brecknell, Tony Moss, Kyle Hodgson, Chris Centaur, Denny Hyde, Lance Schlau, Linda Irish, Mike Weeder, and Paul Nelson. And finally, big thanks to our off-grid supporters. They are Paul Conway, Kevin Boroughbridge, Stephen O'Donoghue, Jim Burness, Robert Flannery, Aaron Hahn, Ellery Hensley, Rory Litwin, JP Fagerback, Dave Kitchen, Andrew Glenn, Anonymous Freak, Chris and Michael Johnson, Clay Witt, CPU for 8101, Eric Knack, Joe Bresney, Joe Hughes, John Henderson, Laura Reynolds, Marcel Ward, Matthew Drobnak, Nigel S, Reggie Watts, Will Graylin, and of course, Ian. Don't forget that we make content every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday on the main channel, plus over here on a Sunday for chicken and garden updates, which you should go and watch right now if you haven't already, as well as the Sunday musings. I will be back next week as usual. I know I said that Kate was going to be here this week, but we had some schedule switch arounds and she couldn't do it, so I'm here. Surprise! Anyway, thanks for joining me, and as always, keep evolving.